All right, guys, let's have a little fun. Let's take the bottom or the entry level respectable Seiko diver, legitimate diver, the Seiko SKX. In this case, I have the 009, all the way up to the top tier without going into Grand Seiko diver, the Marine Master 300. This particular one is the SBD X017. There's an older version, and then there's some newer stuff, that has recently come out, of course. But let's just look at these because this is what I have in front of me today. So, some people, jump into the automatic dive watches, and the SKX is 100% a legitimate first step. And for many, they stay on that path. There's nothing wrong with that. It is a great watch. Anybody's going to tell you there's pros and cons with it. But for me personally, there's way more pros than there are cons. And then if you get to a level, or maybe it's just a grail watch, whatever your scenario, or you're done playing, maybe if you're, with the entry level watches such as the SKX, you're going to migrate up to the Marine Master 300. It's just as iconic as the SKX, arguably, I guess maybe not, but in the Seiko fanboy world, it certainly is. This is the top level achievement in the Seiko dive watch category, and for good reason. It has many special features. You can go watch many individual reviews, articles, you can read on, or you can watch videos on this specific model or like models. But there's a reason why it commands such respect and the price that comes along with it. It is perfection among the dive watches of the Seiko line. Like I said, excluding Grand Seiko. It's kind of Grand Seiko-esque anyway. So with the ATEL35 automatic movement and the way it's assembled and serviced and everything, it's special. It's unique. So with the price tag of $2,500, I mean that's even retail on this guy, $2,600, and then plus or minus they're around $2,500. You can find deals on them, around $2,000 mark. But when you're dealing with the Seiko SKX, you're talking 200-ish, 225, I think is probably where it's at right now on the Factory Jubilee. And that's, it is not in the same category. It is not the same caliber of watch. It has a 7S26 non-hacking, non-hand winding movement. It does have a day-date function, but it is definitely more crude. It's still charming. It is still a really cool watch. You have tons of aftermarket support. You can get it in the 007, the black version. You can get it in the 009, the blue and Pepsi version. There's orange ones, yellow ones. There's way more colorways. There's a few different colorways of the Marine Master 300 for sure. But there's no real wrong choice here. And there doesn't necessarily have to be a ladder. I do think this is not maybe your first option, referring to the Marine Master. If you're in the Seiko divers, I think you kind of do need to progress through that, I call it fanboy or whatever, but the Seiko dive watches, I think you need to experiment with at least one or a few SKX, possibly even modding, because that also can lead into, I know many guys that have stock, well, usually when they start getting heavily into modding, I think they kind of leave behind some of the stock ones, but I know plenty of guys that have crazy modded SKX watches, and then they still achieve the Marine Master 300, or a lot of those guys will actually go after limited edition ones. So there's a few limited edition Marine Masters, and maybe they'll have those. So whatever your desire is in this hobby or in the Seiko lineup, go for it. There's no real wrong choice here. Just be savvy with what you're purchasing. Try not to overpay. Try to find deals. These Marine Masters are discontinued, but there's newer models that kind of basically replace that. They're going to have ceramic bezels and stuff like that. I forget the part numbers, but you could look at those, but you're going to pay a premium on them because they are new releases, whereas you can get some very, very well taken care of Marine Masters that pretty much get babied. I don't think I've ever seen a straight up beaten up Marine Master, where I have seen many beaten up SKX. But, you can go crazy modding. This is still not even crazy modding. This one I built, and I forget what the price point that I landed on this guy, but it's definitely plus of 500. You can do simple modding, something similar to this guy where it's not all crazy modded out, but it's still decent mods, and you're still going to be $300 or $400, whereas you can stop spending money on those and start saving, or maybe even sell a couple watches that you have that are not being worn in your box, and step up to the Marine Master and at least experience it. They pretty much hold their value. Say you pick one up for like $2,000 and you want to sell it a few months down the road because you're just like, well, I tried it. It wasn't for me. You're probably not going to lose much, if at all. So it's fairly safe. It has a pretty cool clasp. A lot of guys in the mod world will actually even take this clasp and put it in their mod builds. It's pretty cool because it has that ratcheting effect on it. Personally, I'm actually not a big fan of it. It adds too much thickness to it and everything like that. But that's pretty much my only gripe with this watch. Even the thickness of the watch itself, this bracelet is not sized for me at all, but even the thickness of the watch, it does not bother me at all. Like, it's quite a bit thicker than the SKX, but it's, that Seiko magic that they seem to nail every time they build a watch, where it just wears great. So yeah, size-wise, overall, yeah, it's certainly bigger than the SKX, but it should be, because the way it's constructed. I mean, you can feel the heft and the quality that comes along with it is certainly there. Like, if we do some close-ups, I mean, there's going to be some smudges and fingerprints and stuff, guys, sorry, but you can see, like, everything is just sorted out on this guy. There's no issues, there's no alignment issues. The handset is just amazing, brushed and polished, even the finishing on the case, minus my fingerprints, whereas the SKX is just blatantly mass-produced. It's printed dial, it's, inexpensive movement to make. It still has nice finishing on it, and the bracelet is just, we all are like charmed with it. But I mean, it's a cheaply made bracelet. It's pretty cool still, but it's a cheaply made watch. So I'm not sure what it cost to manufacture one of these, but they made a ton of them. So cool nonetheless. So whatever you guys choose is not going to be wrong. But I'm not really comparing the SKX to the Marine Master. I'm just saying, if the Marine Master is your grail watch, or you feel like you want to own one at some point in your Seiko journey, then it will not disappoint. As long as you buy it right, it is a safe buy. You're going to be able to flip it if you need to. If you're a serial flipper like many of us are, you're going to be okay, because there's other guys waiting in line to do the same thing that you're looking at doing. But if you don't want to go that route and you want to stick with the SKX and then dabble in some Swiss stuff and some other Seiko line brand or models, then there's nothing wrong with that either. You don't have to jump up to that $2,000 mark. You can be perfectly content messing around with these $200 watches and then investing little bits of money here and there into them. And, it's pretty easy to jump into one of these and have like $1,000 into it. So you kind of got to be careful with that. I mean, yes, you're making a unique creation, but understand that it's only real perceived value is your perceived value. It's not going to translate into a resale proposition. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'm going to give you a lume shot here real quick. I went way too long on this as it is. I went over 10 minutes, which I didn't really mean to, but you can see the lume on the Marine Master is just phenomenal. It is super potent. It's well applied, and just it's crisp. So there's no wrong choice here, guys. All the Seiko watches are pretty fun to play with. So, and occasionally you'll get a dud. They make a lot of them, but you're less likely to get a dud with the Marine Master, that's for sure. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next vid.